From the heart of the city too busy to hate, a progressive voice making too much sense for corporate media's comfort. This is The Ron Show, where we the people come first. Here's your host, Ron Roberts.
Hi, and thank you for listening. Weekdays, 8 a.m., 4 p.m. on Georgia Now, 11 p.m. Progressive Voice via TuneIn or wherever you podcast. So much to go over today. We have Trump weighing in on the Georgia Senate race, and then I don't know if this was like a response, but then the governor decided to weigh in on the GOP gubernatorial primary race as well. Both of those will be decided tomorrow night. We've got the makings, we think, of an Iran deal, and looking back at what we had in 2017 when Trump inherited the JCPOA that President Barack Obama signed and agreed to, it kind of leaves you wondering, okay, what was that all about? Pete Hegseth kind of told us on Face the Nation what that was all about, and it just seems like it was a display of, I don't know, the manosphere machismo, and billions spent, and all of us spending extra on gas, and the Iranian schoolgirls that were killed. You can't help but the thing that I really want to dial in first, and my first guest coming up is KaVon Arnold. She's running for House District 62 in that primary runoff. And I generally don't like weighing into primary runoffs. I mean, I know I did with the lieutenant governor's race. And by the way, there's a new ad out that Nabila Parks actually has a little bit of a TV spin that she did over the weekend. Will it make a difference? We will see. But this social media post from a former House District 62 candidate, friend of the show, Matt Rinker, posted this to his social media over the weekend, and it caught my attention. And then I decided I need to reach out to the candidate that he's supporting, and I'll tell you why in just a few. But first things first, let me let you listen to Matt's social media post.
Hey everyone, it's Matt Rinker. It's a gorgeous evening, but I wanted to take a second to remind you to go early vote. If you live in House District 62 like me, you've probably received a dozen mailers and seen TV ads from the American Futures PAC. To date, they've spent over $500,000 promoting Ken Collier's campaign.
Wow.
In many of those ads, they say that Ken is our only bet to fight back against Donald Trump. But the facts don't add up. According to the Secretary of State's website, in 2024, when Kamala Harris was running against Donald Trump, Ken Collier didn't vote. In 2020, when Joe Biden was pushing back against Donald Trump, again, Ken Collier didn't vote. Even in 2018, here locally, when Stacey Abrams was running against Brian Kemp the first time, Ken Collier was a no-show at the ballot box. We can't trust that he will push back against Donald Trump if he won't even go to vote against him. I hope you'll join me in voting for KaVon Arnold for Georgia House District 62 on June 16th.
That is some serious money going into just one particular House district race. We understand that there's a lot of money floating about in some other Senate and House district races as well. And I'm going to be honest with you, I've never really had much of an opinion about online wagering and its impact on the state of Georgia. Georgia is one of those outlier states still in the South that seems to rebuff these overtures. And I listen to sports talk a lot, so a lot of the sports talk radio hosts talk about going over to Cherokee, North Carolina to do all their and fine, whatever. I understand that there's an influx of cash that can come in tax-wise that could benefit the state, but the question is at what cost? And again, I've really had no strong opinion about this, but I am super curious and a little suspicious when you've got an online wagering super PAC throwing $500,000 just into one House district race. Here is the opponent, KaVon Arnold, who is taking on Ken Collier, who is not only trying to beat Ken Collier but also that giant super PAC. KaVon, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Ron. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on the show.
Appreciate that. Matt Rinker is a good friend of mine, and so he bent my ear a little bit and said, you need to have her on. And I'm happy to do that. I'm not normally one that wants to wander into a primary or a primary runoff for sure, but I am a little curious about this online wagering thing. What are your thoughts on the influx of cash coming into this little House district race here in Metro Atlanta?
Well, I do want to say this first. Matt is absolutely amazing, by the way. Yeah. And, being an opponent now turning to, friends is remarkable. But this campaign of mine has been grassroots from day one, Ron. I didn't have PAC spending over $500,000 on my behalf. Instead, I got up with my small team. We knocked on residents' doors. We shared the concerns. We volunteered timelessly. We put up yard signs. We made phone calls. And that's the investment that I made. The PAC and what's going on it's bothering me. I think voters see a very clear contrast at this point. One campaign has been fueled by outside money, which is evident, and my campaign has been fueled by the people.
Mm-hmm.
The residents, family members, my former teachers, they have invested, and it's bothering me. I don't know. I really don't understand the why. And at this point, I can't concentrate on the why because my focus is the victory and getting to the finish line of something that I started. But I really think that the voters should be able to make a choice, especially when it deals with special interest groups.
Yeah, I'm not a big, money in politics kind of guy either. It's, again, something that always kind of raises my concerns when I see a PAC for a specific industry wandering into a race. And, I mean, did they approach you and say, hey, we'd like to back you as well? Or what was it?
No, they didn't. It started, our race was kind of rocky, and then it just took off, and signs were just everywhere, and mailers were everywhere. And I tried to stay above the fray and didn't get in any of it. And then, of course, people were listening and reading messages on social media, and they would send me stuff and say, hey, did you hear about this? Or do you know what's going on? And that's what kind of procured my interest. And I started reading, and I began going to my mentors who are already elected officials or who are very conscientious of what's going on, asking, can you explain to me what's going on? How does this happen? And that's how I found out what was going on.
All right. So what are your thoughts? Heading into the primary runoff, I don't think this is really like a key issue, but they seem to want to make it a key issue. What are your thoughts on Georgia embracing what several nearby states have now when it comes to, on-site or online wagering or gambling? Just weigh in on that. Let's do that first, and then we'll get to the issue.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
That's really a question the PAC will have to answer.
Yeah.
What I can tell you is that, again, that the voters deserve transparency.
Yeah.
They deserve to know how and who they're going to move when it comes to influences on the elections that they have to vote on. Honestly, my focus has been on earning the trust of all the residents in District 62, earning the residents of people that I even encountered, whether they in District 62 or not. Because I keep saying this, and I really am going to just stand firm on this, because my campaign is powered by the people. It's not powered by the special interests of the PAC.
Mm-hmm.
So my opponent receiving that kind of money, it highlights two different approaches to my campaign. And it's still grassroots.
Yeah.
You can get as much money as you want, but building a campaign on conversation and building a campaign on knocking on doors and building a campaign on actually relating to the people, conversing with the people, being with the people, that's my why. And I can't get in that. And I don't want to speak on something that I have a little knowledge about, but I do know that I'm not going to let it derail me, deter me, or take me off my focal point to get to the finish line. So I know that the PAC themselves will probably be the best people to answer the question, but I can tell you that every voter deserves transparency.
Right.
And that is key right now because of all the things that we have going on today in this climate and the culture.
I guess the thing that concerns me is that we see a prevalence of addiction with young men in particular when it comes to sports wagering. And I'm a sports enthusiast. I love watching. I mean, right now I'm just ensconced in the college baseball World Series. Of course, go Dogs. And I watch a lot of college football. I watch pro football. You can't avoid it. You can't avoid the DraftKings and all these other and the prevalence of online wagering with young men in an atmosphere, an era, an economy where affordability is at top of mind. I'm just really concerned about these efforts to push Georgia across the finish line on something that we should probably be having, an adult conversation about. But let's move on to some other things that are important to you. You are running on a platform of bringing affordable health care to your constituents. You being a resident of East Point and House District 62, no stranger to the affordability crisis, period. But when it comes to affordable health care, that part of Metro Atlanta, to me, is underserved when it comes to healthcare options. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Expanding Medicaid and Medicare is essential
Yeah.
at this point. I've said it over and over again, and I don't mind sharing my story because it's my story and it hits home.
Okay.
Ron, my father has retired from Fulton County government, and I grew up in a middle class family. My mother is deceased, but to watch my father transition in the last maybe 2 years with, do I pay my bills or do I go get my prescriptions filled?
Oh.
That is bothering me. And, at first I would listen to him say things and, in my mind and my thoughts, my dad is my superhero. So, he fixes everything and nothing is wrong. But then you see the worry and then you hear the worry. And then you watch things in his home decline and take a shift. And then as the child, you end up reversing roles, becoming a parent because you step in and make sure that he has the tools and the things he needs to take him into what I call his amazing years and golden years of his life. But that is a daily conversation now with him. It's a daily conversation with my neighbors who are now, all of my friends are gone and moved on and their families, but their parents still live there. So I hear the neighborhood and the people in the community talk about that. So my ears began to burn with hearing that. And I wanted to get in the minutia and I wanted to find out what could I do. And the common thread was expanding Medicaid. We need a voice, KaVon. We need someone to go down there and work with the lawmakers. We need more healthcare benefits. I don't like living like this. I don't like living on a shoestring budget. And that was really one of my whys of my top priorities of wanting to get in this race.
Okay. But let's talk a little bit more on the economics part too, because another one of your platform pillars is workforce development. I think we've seen in recent years, there's been so much conversation and so much focus on the ability for folks to go to college. And that's not something you take off the table. Obviously, we want to make sure that obtaining a college education is important. But there are always going to be those who, and I went to a high school where I would say about 40% of the graduates, they weren't looking to go to college, and they weren't looking to go right into just a mundane job, but they wanted to do something beyond that, whether it be a trade or a craft or something like that, plumbing or electrical, things like that. Workforce development is something that's pretty important to you as well.
Absolutely. So realistically, I believe every student, I'm going to say young person, because I look at that from a standpoint of that age group of maybe 15 to 25. I believe that everyone deserves a pathway to success. But, Ron, success doesn't look the same on everyone. That's right. And that's where we have to take a shift out of having a one-track mind and open your horizons to see it from various facets of life. So it's a bragging moment, but I want to correlate everything. As a mother and a proud public school product, I, too, went to Tri-Cities High School. But my daughter is a 2026 valedictorian of Tri-Cities High School.
Hey! Congratulations, Mom.
Thank you kindly. Thank you kindly. And her decision is to attend college.
Okay.
But I'm very, very active in the school system. And I sit on various boards and I'm in various meetings and I have a footprint in the community and I listen and I'm engaging. But I recognize that college isn't the path that every student want to take. And that's okay. Because that's what we as a community have to embrace it and say, going through four-year colleges or going through various channels of post-secondary options doesn't fit this person. But some students want to enter the workforce, learn trades, start businesses. Others even want to join the military, earn an industry certification. So we should support those pathways just as strongly as we support colleges. So that's why I fully support fully funded public schools, but strengthening workforce development programs that prepare students, that prepare adults for careers in fields that are very common, like HVAC, plumbing, electrical work, healthcare, technology, high demand industries, if that makes sense. So with KaVon for Georgia, my goal is simple. When someone graduates from high school, they should have options and pathways to a successful future.
And you're talking to a realtor. I know that Matt is a realtor as well, so he's probably bent your ear a little bit on that sort of thing. HVAC, plumbing, electrical, work like that is good work. It is consistent work. And here in Atlanta, where everything is constantly either in construction or there's a lot of refurbishing, rehabbing going on in some more historic neighborhoods, flipping houses. That is consistent, good, and high paying work. And the wait, as a realtor, I can tell you, dealing with clients who are looking for folks to do that work, there aren't enough people to do it. So there's obviously a need, and it's a quick turnaround. It doesn't take forever to become licensed to work in HVAC, plumbing, or electrical work.
Yes, and then you look at it from an entrepreneur spirit. When you learn your trade and you get your certifications, most of the time it branches off to you owning your own business.
Yeah.
And then you start making money and you channel your money back into your community. And when you channel your money back into your community becomes safer because you take pride in what you pour into your community and things start to flourish. And that's how I feel that workforce development will work for our youth and our teens. I mean, everything kind of coincides and come together. Like I said, everyone doesn't want to go to college, and that's okay. But let's give everyone a tool to be successful so everyone can thrive and everyone can glow and grow.
Going to take a quick break, come back, and we'll learn a little bit more about KaVon Arnold running for House District 62 on tomorrow's primary ballot when the Ron Show returns on Georgia Now, Progressive Voice via TuneIn. KaVon Arnold is running for House District 62 on tomorrow's Democratic primary runoff ballot. Tell us a little bit about you. You said you're a proud high school graduate from Tri-Cities High School. Fill in the gaps from right now to back then when you were the high school graduate. What have you done that has led you to this point?
I am a legacy resident of East Point, Georgia. Mm-hmm. So while I love District 62, East Point is near and dear to my heart. I went to my Olive Elementary School, which is in East Point. It's now named Asa G. Hilliard. I still stayed in Fulton County Schools, went to Camp Creek Middle School, and then I came back and went to Tri-Cities High School, where I was in the Visual Performing Arts magnet as a ballerina. So I love the arts and I love to dance, and I danced literally from a very, very young age up to my 30s. So that I love Tri-Cities.
Can I just tell you too, by the way, when it comes to funding public schools, I think one of the missing links when it comes to funding public schools is in the fine arts and dance and music and drama, theater, and stuff like that. Those are very important tools and should be options for kids, no matter what school district that they're zoned in.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not really a subject matter expert, but in Fulton County, I noticed that many of the schools have pathways that deal with career technology, visual performing art. So I see it coming more and more to give our kids a chance to get involved and learn a little bit about a lot. When I was at Tri-Cities, and it still is, it was a visual and performing arts magnet school. And I went to school with some amazing people from members of Outkast, members of Escape, and Keenan, that's on Saturday Night Live. And I could just keep going. And our actual drama theater teacher just won an award. And it was just a melting pot, and it was fun, and to see the dancing and the singing and the chorus and the art, and it's just, to me, it was the modern Fame. And I love the school. So you're able to be in school with so much talent, and you're able to embrace the talent, and you learn a little bit about a lot about the talent, and you're able to go to the shows, and you're able to be supporting cast of the shows, whether you're a dancer or whether you're in audio, or whether you're in tech. And it's just, it was great. It still is great. I work hard in the Tri-Cities community because while I am a graduate, I also am the past immediate president of the Tri-Cities High School Alumni Association.
There you go.
And the Alumni Association is awesome. It's ran pretty much on the level of a junior college. We give back tremendously from scholarships, volunteer hours. We fill in the gap. That's the best way I can say it. We're in the school mentoring. We are in the school helping in various capacities. But most importantly, with my biggest I guess just proud moment of the Alumni Association is how much money they give back in scholarships annually to ensure that our children or our new alumni are able to go on to the next phase of life and thrive. And we give scholarships back and really different areas, from academia to sports to someone who has what we call the middle ground of a GPA. We want those kids to know that we love them, we see them, we hear them, and we support them.
And there's opportunity. Yeah. No, listen, I'm glad I asked you this question because I was completely ignorant to all of these things, and that is fantastic. That is the sort of thing that, school kids need that. I saw a story last night on NBC News where these parents show up to this West Virginia elementary school just to throw a little positive influence on the walk into school, and that's so important. And
absolutely,
it's great to see that organizations like that Alumni Association exist to do just that. KaVon Arnold, I'm so glad we had a few minutes to talk today. I know you got one more day of door knocking and canvassing and calling and getting the votes out. I wish you the best of luck tomorrow, and we'll be keeping an eye on that House District race when the results come in. Thank you so much for joining the Ron Show today. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you for having me.
It appears we are on the precipice of a memorandum of understanding, not exactly an Iran nuclear deal, but a memorandum of understanding that we will get to the point where we're discussing an Iran nuclear deal. But there's actually a lot in the details that make you go, wait, the Obama deal was bad, but this is good in the interim? We'll discuss that and some late endorsements from President Donald Trump and Governor Brian Kemp in GOP Georgia primary runoffs when the Ron Show returns.
This is the Ron Show.
And so we understand that we are entering a phase where, we'll all hold our breath till Friday, I guess, for this signing ceremony of a memorandum of understanding. A signing ceremony for a memorandum. Not a peace deal, not a treaty, but just a memorandum of understanding. MS Now's Antonia Hilton reporting on this last night. Let me give you a little bit of her introduction into what we understand this memorandum to be.
We're following the latest developments in the Middle East in the fight to end the war with Iran. Just moments ago, Trump posted on Truth Social, the deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran is now complete. Congratulations to all. I hereby fully authorize the toll-free opening of the Strait of Hormuz and simultaneously herewith authorize the immediate removal of the United States naval blockade. Ships of the world, start your engines, let the oil flow. Also tonight, Pakistan's Prime Minister announced the official signing ceremony will be on Friday, the 19th of June in Switzerland, adding, quote, "We would like to thank the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran for their commitment to finding a diplomatic solution to the conflict."
Now, later in that same segment, MS Now journalist, anchor, political commentator Ayman Mohyeldin joined to characterize, that Truth Social post and what this agreement sort of looks like.
You can see a lot of stress in President Trump's post when he says, let the oil flow, right? Because you can clearly see that this was a major issue that had America and the global economy somewhat crippled as a result of this war. Right. And the first thing he does is acknowledge, not signaling anything to the brave American men and women who died in this war, not saying that this was a costly war, but saying to oil companies and to shipping companies, start your engines, let the oil flow. And it gives you a sense of the desperation and the pressure that Donald Trump was facing as a result of this war of choice, not a war of necessity, something that a lot of people said you did not need to do. And that, I think, is the context in which today's agreement is important to kind of keep in mind as we talk about it. I come back to the point that what we want to understand about this deal has not, moved forward. And the reason why I kind of say it like that is, if you go back to February 27th, where the United States was engaging in negotiations with Iran to try to end its nuclear program, we know that is not part of this immediate deal. The framework, as I understand it from speaking to people over the past several days, is that this deal immediately ends the war and at the same time opens the Strait of Hormuz, and the questions about Iran's nuclear program, its enriched uranium, all of that would be discussed over the next 60 days.
So the real work begins.
Exactly, in a separate track of negotiation. So that's where we are now. We're just going back to February 27th. And to your point, the real negotiations are now going to start over the next 60 days, which can be extended indefinitely so long as the two sides are involved in these talks directly.
Which is sort of frustrating because what was this all about? Actually, let me get to some audio from Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, on Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan.
That's the big difference between this and JCPOA and the way Obama did it. Obama, they begged Iran for a deal, and we bombed Iran and then put in a blockade and then ran ships through and then have restarted when necessary to ensure that they come to the table for a great deal. So our military posture will be whatever it needs to be to ensure they're compelled over this 60 days through the memorandum of understanding that they live up to what they said they would do. The document says Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, won't seek one, won't buy one, won't have one.
JCPOA said that
days,
too.
There'll be negotiations to make that final.
Thank you, Margaret.
But they didn't have the threat of military force the way that we do, that Iran respects in a very way that their regime is more devastated than it's ever been in its 47 years. And that's why they're at the table. So the huge difference is we did this from a position of strength. President Trump led with military might. That military might will stay as long as necessary.
I'm sorry, I have to tell you, this thought that we have this fantastic military, which we also had under Obama and also under Biden and also under Clinton. It's not like the military just shrivels away and dies. They campaign on that being the case. Which is, I think, insulting to our military servicemen and women, to be honest with you. But, but getting nearly the same deal, if they even get it, but only after using bombs to kill schoolgirls, makes a Trump-signed deal better because we led with force after withdrawing from the aforementioned deal put in place without a drop of bloodshed? Someone explain it to me like I'm 6 here, okay? This just comes off as frat bro bully mentality. That whole schoolyard thing. Yeah, sure. You're already giving me your lunch money, but now I want to beat your ass and get the same lunch money to reinforce why you're going to have to give it to me. I mean, this doesn't engender respect for the country. This does not engender global respect for the United States of America. It just gins up fear. Fear is not respect. It also diminishes our word. Our diplomatic efforts mean nothing if the nations we're negotiating with can't trust us to commit to our agreement from one presidency to the next. I mean, I guess on the bright side, this is the last Trump president. It is the last Trump presidency, right? This is the last Trump presidency where we have to deal with a narcissist, an egomaniac who has severe issues. I mean, talk about derangement syndrome. He has Obama derangement syndrome. Anything Obama did, he's wanted to undo just for the sake of undoing it, and then trying to, cover up the damage done by undoing it by coming up with something lesser. Speaking of Obama on ABC News.
It is doubtful that any agreement that arises is going to be significantly different or a significant improvement from the deal that we had. I'm hopeful that bombing stops and ordinary people are no longer suffering as a consequence of the war.
But as you heard the former president say, it's highly doubtful this is a better deal. And it's certainly understandable why Iran wouldn't negotiate for a better... Again, our word is useless. Why would Iran negotiate with... I don't even understand why they've even signed this memorandum, honestly. It's like, how do we know this is any good? How do we know that you won't go back on your word, your nation's word, again? Representative Adam Smith joined Antonia Hilton on MS Now to discuss. He's on the Armed Services Committee.
How do you view the current state of play, given what you may know about the deal announced tonight? Do you think that we are better off on a single metric? Are we better today, safer today, than we were back in February?
No, I mean, I substantially agree with pretty much everything that Ayman said in your first segment there. I mean, the two big initial reactions are, one, I really hope this sticks because stopping this war is so important. I mean, the devastation it's caused, certainly throughout the Middle East, but across the world economically, it has expanded in all the ways that Ayman described. You have Iran attacking, half a dozen or more different countries in the Middle East. The war between Israel and Lebanon has exploded. Israel's actions in the West Bank continue apace. We have a lot of violence and conflict. If this can be a step towards calming that down and moving us towards peace, then I'm very excited about it. But second, it makes it very clear that this war was just a colossal mistake. No, we are not any better off. I think Ayman summed it up quite well. I mean, the Strait of Hormuz wasn't on the table. The Arab neighbors had not been attacked by Iran. Now they have. And basically, we're sort of back where we were when we started. No clear nuclear deal. And all we've done is reopened a strait that, we haven't done this yet. If this plays out, which is still an open question, question. Even if it plays out, all we've done is reopen a strait that was open in the first place. So, and I want to get at one quick thing. The core problem here with Netanyahu and Trump is they seem to think that they can vanquish all of their enemies. That whatever conflict they face, if they simply apply enough force, they will break Hezbollah, they will break Hamas, they will break Iran, and then we'll get everything we want. That is just not going to happen. This is a situation that's going to have to be managed. We cannot kill our way out of it. And I still don't fundamentally think that either President Trump or Prime Minister Netanyahu understand that. We have to find partners for peace, not just enemies that we want to kill.
Back to the frat boy. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth with Face the Nation's Margaret Brennan.
How quickly will the U.S. blockade on Iran end? How quickly will they be able to sell their oil?
It's a valid question.
Immediately is what the president has said, and that'll be our expectation of the Iranians. Is that
so?
It's
tomorrow,
not us that
you'll end the blockade if they sign it
the
today.
problem here. So when it's performance based, Margaret. So we're not going. Unlike Obama, President Trump is smart about these things. He's not going to just give it away. So ultimately, the blockade will stay as the strait opens, and then the blockade will open, and then the straits open, and if that takes 30 days to fully mature or 2 weeks to fully mature, but it will start immediately, as the president has said. And by the way, I think your viewers need to remember, Project Freedom never stopped, and we've run 125 million barrels of oil through the straits, and Iran couldn't do anything about it. How many ships from Iran have transited our blockade? Zero. We have controlled the straits this entire time.
Right,
this
but you're going to negotiate with them to
immediately and gradually
reopen it. So, you're saying immediately, but Secretary Rubio had said the U.S. would help to clear mines from the Strait of Hormuz. You just used 30 days as like a period of time.
Yeah, that
Can you
part.
clear the mines and remove the security threats in the Strait within 30 days?
We can do any of those things within 30 days in a permissive environment. So the ball is in Iran's court at some level.
So we would get
agree
back
to this
to
deal.
pre-war
We're
shipping?
already doing things I can't. We're already doing things I can't talk about on this program, and that to ensure that safe passage happens as quickly as possible. So we're all over this. We know exactly what the dynamics are. Iran probably doesn't, because they can't see and sense their capabilities around the Strait. Especially these last couple nights were very devastating for them as far as their ability to understand what's going through the Strait. So if they have capabilities and can do it, great. If not, if international partners who've said they want to step up and contribute.
Here we go again.
But once this deal is signed, our expectation is that Iran will stop shooting, drones at commercial shipping. It's been them shooting at shipping the entire time.
Yeah, they did that just on Friday. And in fact, a drone collided with an Apache helicopter last week. They fired drones into Bahrain. They fired missiles at a U.S. base in Jordan just a few days ago. They still have the capacity to
And that's why you
hurt our
have to
friends and
deal with
partners.
these folks with strength and not just ask them at the table. And it's the military strength that compelled them to this point where they're making a deal which will be great for the security of the United States of America.
To get back to where we were in February when we didn't use military strength in the first place. And by the way, according to CBS News, Iran's powerful Revolutionary Guard said today that under this deal set to be signed this week, the country will receive half of its roughly $24 billion in long frozen funds before final negotiations begin during the 60-day ceasefire extension. What was it? $1.7 billion on the pallet, remember, that Obama sent? $1.7 billion is a lot less than $12 billion. A U.S. official said Iran would get none of the money until it demonstrates compliance with the deal's terms. Yet to be seen. But they are, according to the framework of this memorandum, to get $24 billion in unfrozen funds. Remember when that was the political issue for GOP politicians when Obama negotiated $1.7 billion, not 12, but they made a lot of noise about $1.7 billion, by the way, which were also frozen Iranian funds in the first place. Oh, the art of the deal, though, man. Golly, this Trump, he's a quite. And listen, for that, we only had to sacrifice a few months of like $4 a gallon gas and a stagnant economy and cost of living skyrocketing. I hope you've appreciated all that you've had to commit to a war that you didn't get to choose to commit us to. It's The Ron Show. All right, final segment of the show. Back to Georgia. Governor Brian Kemp really wants childhood friend Derek Dooley to win the U.S. Senate runoff to take on Senator Jon Ossoff. I don't really understand why. Okay, I get it. A lot can happen between now and November, but the polls look really good for Senator Jon Ossoff. So much so that you've got liberals outside the state just fawning over him as a potential presidential candidate. Let's win the Senate race first. I covered that a great deal, the pros and the cons of that conversation last week here on this show. By the way, you can listen to those episodes wherever you podcast or at heargeorgianow.com on the Georgia Now app as well. That being said, it seems as if it was almost a personal shot across the bow that President Donald Trump weighed in on the Georgia Senate primary runoff with an 11th hour endorsement. From WANF TV in Atlanta News First.
Topping our political headlines, a Republican candidate for senator just got a massive endorsement ahead of Georgia's runoff election on Tuesday. President Donald Trump announcing on social media today that he is backing Representative Mike Collins. In the post, he called Collins a, quote, warrior and a winner. Collins is facing off against political newcomer Derek Dooley for the Republican nomination for senator, and the winner will take on incumbent U.S. Senator and Democrat Jon Ossoff in November. Dooley released a statement this morning saying in part, quote, I am proud to have the strong support of Governor Brian Kemp, and we're going to win on Tuesday because, as I have said from the beginning, the most important endorsement is that of the Georgia people. A reminder, your last day to vote in the runoff is Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm stunned that Donald Trump picked the Trumpier candidate running in the Senate race. However, also at the 11th hour, and I don't understand why we're doing this at the 11th hour, fellas, but Governor Brian Kemp also weighed in on the gubernatorial race. If I'm Burt Jones, I'm like, oh, thanks. I mean, this is so 11th hour, I'm not even sure it matters at this point, but here we go from WXIE TV 11 Alive.
All right, here we go, folks. We're just days away until Georgia's runoff election. Governor Brian Kemp is throwing his support behind Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones in the GOP runoff for governor. The endorsement adds Jones's growing list of supporters, including President Trump. Kemp pointed to Jones's role in advancing tax cuts, public safety investments, and other key Republican initiatives. Jones says that the endorsement is a sign that his work has delivered real results for Georgians, and the two will have a press conference tomorrow morning. So following Governor Brian Kemp's endorsement of Burt Jones, a spokesperson for the Democratic gubernatorial nominee, Keisha Lance Bottoms, released a statement in response saying, in part, Burt Jones and Rick Jackson are running to enrich themselves as they refuse to fight for Georgians facing rising costs and threats to their health care. As governor, Keisha will focus on bringing down costs, expanding Medicaid, and investing in education.
Incidentally, the Keisha Lance Bottoms ad that kind of takes a swipe at Burt Jones and Rick Jackson, both trying to appeal to Donald Trump for, their anointment. I mean, Burt Jones has Trump's endorsement. It has been reaffirmed, but Rick Jackson is trying to portray himself to those MAGA voters, that MAGA bloc, that he is the Georgia version, the change agent, the disruptor that would be Donald Trump in Rick Jackson's clothing. Let me play the ad for you real quick from Keisha Lance Bottoms on that.
The Republican primary for governor. Two grown men fighting to kiss the ass of an ass.
It's embarrassing. I'm Keisha Lance Bottoms, and unlike some people, I'm not running for governor to be Donald Trump. I'm running to stand up to him, to expand Medicaid, guarantee pre-K for all kids, and lower taxes for working families. This may be funny, but what you're going through is not. Let's do something about it.
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I like that she is leading with something of a lighthearted. Yeah, I think that's all very good stuff. That's a good ad. It'll be interesting to see, by the way, now that she's a nominee, that first filing period, what those numbers look like, monetarily speaking. But remember, we were weighing in on the fact that there were some issues with the filing leading up to, I think it was the April 30th deadline, right? And that a lot of the money she was running on came from herself, essentially. I think having to take out like a HELOC on a home in Virginia, right? Anyway, it'd be interesting to see what sort of money is coming in now. It's going to be very important. She's going to be running up against someone, whether it's Burt Jones or Rick Jackson, with deep pockets ready to, as we've seen in their GOP primary and in the runoff, just inundate us with the attack ads. Speaking of attack ads, I'm going to be honest with you. I check my mail like once a week because, especially this time of year, because you get so many of these giant postcards, right? I have paid absolutely zero attention. I will do this tonight. I will do my homework on the Fulton County Commission chair race between Mo Ivory and Rob Pitts. And let me tell you, I already have a contrast in approaches here. With Mo Ivory, I'm getting a big postcard with her endorsements that include former state senator Jason Estevez, former mayor Shirley Franklin, Mayor Andre Dickens, Congresswoman Nikema Williams, DA Fonnie Willis, Nan Orrock, and I say 5, 10, 15, 22 other endorsements. And then Rob Pitts sends out an attack postcard, not endorsements for him or just, focusing on his accolades. He decides to go in on Mo Ivory with an attack that I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a little offended by. Bringing up a past bankruptcy of hers, some unpaid debt from lawsuits, tax liens. I'm gonna be honest with you. When you're in an affordability crisis and you're running that you were in an affordability crisis, I don't think one way to appeal to voters, unless they're deep-pocketed voters, I don't think a way to appeal to voters who are struggling through an affordability crisis is to bring up that your opponent has gone through some monetary issues in her past as well. I mean, if anything, it makes me relate to her, right? I mean, I'm not saying I've gone through a bankruptcy or anything like that or tax liens, but we've all had those issues before where, as you heard KaVon Arnold speak to with her father deciding, do I get prescriptions this month or pay the grocery and utility bills? We've all gone through those scenarios before. I just think that actually kind of makes Mo a little bit more relatable. But again, I'm not endorsing her. I don't even know if I'm going to vote for her. I am a little concerned about Mr. Pitt's age, and I know people are going to paint me as an ageist again because I had those same concerns with Joe Biden. I had those same concerns with Mike Thurmond, but I definitely have some concerns with this method of campaigning to take the attack offensive. Not really wild about that, but like you and like many others, I'm gonna do my homework on this race and see what other races I need to weigh in on my ballot. I've been honestly just kind of busy doing what a lot of you have, focusing on like how to pay my bills, et cetera, and so on. I work in real estate, and real estate has been taking it on the chin ever since this war of choice that we may or may not be on the way out of as of Friday's memorandum that takes us at least back to the same circumstances we were faced with the day before we decided to attack Iran, and then however long it takes to get the strait reopened, yada, yada, yada. All right, so that'll do it. I want to thank KaVon Arnold, by the way, for getting up early and joining me, and for Matt connecting us. I do appreciate that. That was an important conversation to have. Really concerned about and have had no opinion on online wagering or Georgia's approval thereof. I've actually kind of been one of those people, again, a sports talk guy. I listen to sports talk all the time. I've often and lived in Louisiana. I lived in Louisiana for about 6 years, where there is casinos. Most of those are tied into Native American tribes there. I think there's the one in New Orleans that is not, Harris, if I'm not mistaken. But I've never really saw the harm in it. But I am very much concerned about the onset of online wagering, the Kalshis, the draft lottery, the Draft Kings, and there's so many of them, and they seem to be targeting men in particular, sports fanatic men. And if you're well enough off that a little winning and losing here or there doesn't really impact you, then I think it's fine. It does very much concern me when we see $500,000 going into a House district race, especially in House District 62. Where, again, the affordability crisis is impacting families in that community. No different than any other House district, but in that House district in particular, where affordability is something of a crisis point for a lot of households. So anyway, That is the show, and I'll remind you, get out there and vote. 7 a.m., 7 p.m. tomorrow. You got to vote at your official location. You can't just go to any location within your county. Make sure you hop on the Georgia Secretary of State's website to look at your sample ballot and to know where it is that you need to go. That'll do it for today's Ron Show. Show notes, as always, at ronshowatl.com. We're on 8 a.m., 4 p.m. weekdays on Georgia Now, 11 p.m. Progressive Voice via TuneIn, wherever you podcast. Show notes, as always, at ronshowatl.com. Take care.